I'm standing in the back of the Palmer House Hilton ballroom watching 200 people pretend to care about the Chicago Small Business Awards. My hands won't stop shaking. Not because I'm nervous. The shaking started when I saw him walk in. Brandon. My son. This isn't just any family disagreement. This is a full-blown family Freud, the kind that destroys relationships permanently. A real Steve Harvey family Freud where blood means nothing and money means everything. And Brandon? He'd always been the bad boy, the one who chose sides based on bank accounts, not loyalty. 44 years old, Navy suit. That same look on his face he's had since he was 16, like he just smelled something rotten. He hasn't called in 6 years, not since the text I sent in 2018. Son, I have cancer. Can you help with the copay? Read. No response. The MC's voice cuts through. Our next award recognizes community impact through personal sacrifice. Nominated by his 3 children, Marcus, Harvey, CEO of Nextech Solutions, Elena Harvey, medical student at Northwestern, and Isaiah Harvey, engineer at Ford Motor Company. Please welcome Steve Harvey. Across the room, Brandon's face goes from confused to furious. This is going to be bad. 16 years ago, I was different. 47 years old, 28 years at GM's Detroit assembly plant, wife named Patricia, son who thought I walked on water because I brought home $68,000 a year plus benefits. September 2008 changed everything. GM announced the Detroit plant closure. 2,000 jobs gone overnight, mine included. I told Patricia on a Tuesday. She stood there, wooden spoon dripping red sauce on the linoleum, and said nothing. 3 months later, when the severance ran dry and I was working AutoZone for $12 an hour, she said plenty. I want a divorce. 26 years of marriage. 4 words. I've met someone. Richard manages electronics at Target. He has stability. Stability, what I'd stopped being. The divorce took 8 months. She wanted half of everything, the 401k, the pension, the house. Brandon was 28 then, old enough to choose sides. He chose her. Dad, you're a loser, he said one night, eating Chipotle in his Lexus, the one I'd helped him buy. Mom deserves better. I didn't argue. He was right. So I left. Packed my truck, drove to Chicago, started over at 49 with $11,000 in my pocket. Starting over isn't starting over. It's surviving. I found a studio in Uptown for $650 a month that smelled like cigarettes. Got a loan for a used food truck, $23,000 at 11% interest. Harvey's Motor City Dogs. Not creative, but it reminded me of home. The first year was brutal. Some days I cleared $200, some days 40. But I showed up. Every day. Because that's what you do when showing up is all you have left. I called Brandon twice that first year, at voicemail both times. He never called back. Patricia remarried in 2011. Brandon made sure I knew about it. October 2012. One of those Chicago days that reminds you winter's coming. 40 degrees, rain sideways, the kind that soaks through in 30 seconds. I'd parked near the loop when I heard it, wet, hacking cough like someone drowning. 3 kids behind a dumpster. The oldest, maybe 12, arms around the younger 2. Their lips were blue. Rain had soaked through their clothes. No jackets, just t-shirts and jeans unwashed for weeks. You okay? The oldest looked up, dark eyes, scared. We're fine. You're not fine. When's the last time you ate? He didn't answer, just pulled the others closer. I made 3 hot dogs, grabbed chips and water, set them on the ground between us. I'm Steve. That's breakfast, lunch, and dinner. On the house. The kids stared like they might disappear. Then he grabbed one, took a bite. His eyes closed. What's your name? Marcus. This is Elena. Isaiah. We're waiting for our mom. Where is she? She'll be back. She wouldn't. We both knew it. I came back the next day. They were still there, and the day after, and the day after that. 5th day, Marcus finally admitted it. She's gone, 3 weeks ago. Elena started crying. 11 years old, living behind a dumpster. Isaiah, 10 years old, just stared. Are you going to call the police? Do you want me to? No, they'll split us up. I should have called DCFS right there. That's what you're supposed to do. But the system breaks kids, and these 3 already had each other. How about this? I said. Help me close up today. I'll buy you dinner. Then we'll figure out tomorrow. Marcus looked at his siblings, nodded. That night, McDonald's. They ate like they'd never seen food. Afterward, I took them to my studio, barely big enough for 1, let alone 4, and they slept on the floor while I stayed up wondering what the hell I was doing, becoming a father again. That's what. It took 6 months to make it legal. 6 months of navigating foster care, proving stable income, passing background checks, convincing a social worker named Patricia, different Patricia, not my ex-wife, that a 51-year-old single man in a 400-square-foot apartment was better than splitting up 3 siblings. Mr. Harvey, Patricia said during our final meeting, those kids told me they want to stay wherever you are because you showed up. Foster placement approved April 2013. Full adoption went through in 2015. Marcus Reed became Marcus Harvey. Elena Chen became Elena Harvey. Isaiah Thompson became Isaiah Harvey. They were mine, legally, finally. The years after were the hardest I'd ever worked. Moved us to a 2-bedroom in Lincoln Square, $1,100 a month, which meant expanding the truck's hours. 5 a.m. to 4 p.m., 7 days a week. No vacations, no days off. Poverty sharpens you, makes you efficient. We bought groceries at Aldi, clothes at Goodwill. The kids did homework at the library because our apartment was too small and too loud. But we made it work. Together. Marcus was brilliant. Scary, brilliant. By 14, he was teaching himself coding. By 16, he'd built an app that solved supply chain problems I didn't understand. Elena loved science. Straight A's every semester. She'd come home from school talking about bones and surgeries, eyes lit up like she'd discovered fire. Isaiah inherited my love for engines. Spent hours under the truck with me, learning how things worked. Kid could diagnose a problem by sound alone. They weren't just surviving anymore. They were thriving. Brandon called once during those years. 2014. He'd gotten married. Dad, just wanted to let you know, you're going to be a grandfather. That's great, Brandon, really. Yeah, Vanessa and I are doing well. Got promoted to sales manager, making $78,000 now. I'm proud of you, son. Silence. Then, you still doing that hot dog thing? Yeah, still at it. Huh. Well, Vanessa's calling. I should go. Brandon, wait, I'd love to meet her. And the baby. Yeah, maybe. Maybe never came. The family feud was already brewing, though I didn't know it yet. Brandon resented that I'd moved on, built something new. To him, I was supposed to stay broken, stay the failure his mother said I was. What I didn't know then, what I didn't learn until much later, was that Brandon's life wasn't as perfect as it sounded. Marcus showed me the texts eventually. He'd hacked Brandon's phone during the investigation. I told him not to, but he did anyway. The texts were from 2023, Brandon to Vanessa. Babe, we're maxed out. $48,000 for the kids' school. The mortgage is killing us. Just saw Marcus Harvey on LinkedIn. $15 million valuation. My dad's adopted son. This is insane. I'm the real son. Where's my inheritance? Why them and not me? And then, if Dad has enough to help them succeed, he has enough to help us. I'm gonna fix this. I read those in the truck one afternoon and felt something I hadn't felt in years. Pity. Because Brandon wasn't just greedy. He was desperate. And desperate men do ugly things. That didn't excuse what he did, but it explained it. The bad boy behavior, the entitlement, it all came from fear. By 2018, the kids were finding their paths. Marcus, 18, got accepted to Northwestern on partial scholarship, studying computer science, working 2 jobs to cover the rest. Elena, 17, finishing high school with a 4.0, already talking about medical school. Isaiah, 16, rebuilding motorcycle engines in our tiny apartment's parking lot. Kid had a gift. Then March 2018 happened. I started pissing blood. Dr. Franklin Walsh at UI Health didn't sugarcoat it. Prostate cancer. Stage 1. Treatable, but treatment isn't cheap. The biopsy alone cost $2,400. My catastrophic insurance covered 60%. I paid the rest. That's when I texted Brandon. Son, I have cancer. Can you help with the copay? I sent it at 2:47 p.m. on a Tuesday. Delivered. Read at 3:47 p.m. I sat in the truck, engine off, watching the screen. My hands shook. I told myself it was the cold, but it wasn't. I kept checking, refreshing, like maybe the app was broken. Like maybe read was a glitch. It wasn't. An hour passed. 2 hours. By 6 p.m., I drove home. My phone stayed silent. I waited a week. Sent another. Brandon, I know we haven't talked much, but I could really use help here. Read. No response. This wasn't just a family feud anymore. This was abandonment. A Steve-Harvey family feud that crossed every line. Marcus found me in the truck one afternoon, staring at my phone. What's wrong? 19 then. Sophomore at Northwestern. Nothing. Steve. That's what they called me. Never asked them to call me Dad. What's going on? I showed him the texts, watched his face go from confused to angry. Are you serious? Your own son. He's got his own life. Wife, kids. It's fine. It's not fine. He pulled out his phone. How much do you need? Marcus, no. How much? $960. But you're not. He was already opening Venmo. 30 seconds later, my phone buzzed. $960. You'll pay me back when you can, or don't. Elena and Isaiah found out, pooled another $500, left it in an envelope taped to the truck's window. Inside, Elena's handwriting. You showed up for us. We show up for you. I cried for the first time since Patricia left. The treatment worked. 6 weeks of radiation. Brutal, but effective. Dr. Walsh declared me cancer-free in August 2018. I tried calling Brandon to tell him. Voicemail. Left a message. Hey, son. Just wanted you to know I'm okay. The cancer's gone. Hope you and Vanessa and the kids are well. He never called back. The next 6 years, I watched those 3 kids become people I couldn't have imagined. Marcus graduated Northwestern in 2019, got hired at a tech startup, then quit 18 months later to launch his own company, Next Tech Solutions. Some kind of supply chain software I didn't fully understand, but that apparently solved problems I didn't know existed. By 2023, Nextech was valued at $15 million. Marcus was 23 years old. Forbes put him on their 30 under 30 list. Elena went to medical school at Northwestern, top of her class. She chose orthopedic surgery. Told me she picked it because bones don't lie. You fix them or you don't. In 2024, she was a second-year med student, 23 years old, on track to save lives. Isaiah took a different path. Went to Michigan Tech, studied mechanical engineering, graduated with a 3.8 GPA. Ford hired him straight out of college. By 2024, he was working in their EV division in Detroit. The city I'd left in shame was where my youngest son, my real son, the one I chose, was building the future. Me, I kept running the truck, paid off the apartment, saved a little. The kids kept trying to give me money. Steve, you don't have to work anymore. But I always refused. I like the truck, I told them. I like showing up. They understood. They always understood. September 2024. That's when everything changed. Brandon found Marcus on LinkedIn. Marcus showed me the screenshot later. Brandon had sent a connection request. Marcus, not knowing who he was, accepted. Then came the message. Hey Marcus, this is Brandon Harvey, Steve's biological son. We should talk. Marcus showed me. What does he want? I don't know, but I had a guess. The next message confirmed it. I saw your company's valuation. Impressive. Dad must be very proud. I'm sure he's been supporting you financially. He does have that GM pension coming. We should discuss his estate planning. Estate planning. I had $47,000 in savings, a paid-off condo worth maybe $280,000, and a social security check. That was my estate. Marcus didn't respond, but Brandon kept digging. He found Elena, found Isaiah, found their success. Then he called me, first time in 6 years. Hey, Dad. Like no time had passed, like he hadn't ignored me for 72 months, like I hadn't begged for help when I was fighting cancer. Brandon, how are you? I saw some articles about your foster kids. That's really something. They're my kids, Brandon. Adopted. Legal. Right. Of course. A pause. Dad, I've been thinking. We should talk about the future. Estate planning. Making sure everything's fair. Fair. That word. There's nothing to plan, Brandon. I don't have anything. Come on, Dad. You've got the pension, the property, which I earned, which I'll spend. Brandon, what do you want? I want what's mine. The mask slipped. I'm your son, your actual son, not some charity cases you picked up. And when you die, I hung up. He called back. I didn't answer. Then he escalated. The bad boy was about to show his true colors. October 2024. Articles started appearing, small blogs at first. Local businessman accused of foster care exploitation. Food truck owners, success story, kids raise questions. Anonymous sources, unnamed whistleblowers, all saying I'd taken in Marcus, Elena, and Isaiah not out of kindness, but for personal gain, tax breaks, sympathy. Eventually, their money. It was bullshit, but it spread. This family feud had gone public now. Brandon was weaponizing the media against his own father. Isaiah figured out the source. Kid had learned basic cybersecurity from a friend. He found Brandon's digital footprint all over it. Google searches from Brandon's IP address, how to contest father's will, cutting adopted children from inheritance, foster care fraud Illinois, and then the smoking gun, an email from brandon.harvey.pharmaogmail.com to tipsonchicagotribune.com. Subject, story lead, foster care fraud. I have exclusive information about Steve Harvey, a food truck owner exploiting foster children for publicity. As his biological son, I can provide insider perspective. 3 success stories, Marcus, Elena, Isaiah, are staged for public image. He's preparing to cut me from inheritance in their favor. Exclusive interview rights, $5,000. Brandon Harvey. Isaiah showed me on a Wednesday afternoon, rain hammering the truck roof. He sold you out, Isaiah said quietly. For $5,000. I didn't say anything. Couldn't. Steve, his hand on my shoulder. We're not letting this stand. What are you going to do? Marcus stepped into the truck, Elena behind him. I hadn't seen them arrive. We nominated you for the Chicago Small Business Awards, Marcus said. Community Impact category. The ceremony's in 2 weeks. Why would you? Because, Elena said, it's time everyone knew the truth. Not Brandon's version, the real one. And if Brandon shows up? Marcus smiled, not a kind smile. We're counting on it. Which brings us back to the Palmer House Hilton. 200 people, 3 local news cameras, and Brandon standing in the back, watching me walk to the stage. I didn't know what the kids had planned, but as I reached the podium and saw all three waiting, Marcus in a sharp suit, Elena in a professional dress, Isaiah in business casual, I understood. This wasn't about an award. This was about ending the family feud once and for all. Marcus spoke first, CEO voice, confident, clear. 16 years ago, Steve Harvey found 3 kids behind a dumpster in the Loop. I was 12. Elena was 11. Isaiah was 10. We had nothing. He had less than nothing. He just lost everything in a divorce, was living in a studio apartment, working 80 hours a week on a food truck. He paused. Let it sink in. But he chose us. Not because it was easy. Not because it made sense. Because it was right. The room was silent. People ask me how I built a $15 million company by 23. The answer is simple. Steve taught me that showing up matters more than talent, that consistency beats genius, that family isn't biology, it's choice. He looked directly at Brandon. Some people don't understand that. Elena stepped up next. Doctor voice, precise, clinical. I'm not here as Dr. Harvey. I'm not there yet. I'm a second-year medical student, but I'm here as the daughter of a man who taught me that family is about showing up. She pulled out her phone, connected it to the projector. In 2018, when Steve was diagnosed with cancer, he reached out to his biological son for help with medical bills, $960 for a biopsy copay. The screen behind us lit up with text messages. Steve, son, I have cancer. Can you help with the copay? Read 3:47 p.m. Steve, 1 week later. Brandon, I know we haven't talked much, but I could really use help here. Read 2:13 p.m. No responses, just read receipts. That son ignored him, Elena said. Her voice didn't waver. Read the messages. Never responded. So Marcus paid, I paid, Isaiah paid, because that's what family does. I watched Brandon across the ballroom. His face went white, then red, his hands clenched into fists. Vanessa, beside him, stepped away. Half a step, then a full step. Then she was 3 feet away, arms crossed, face turned toward the exit. Brandon saw it. I saw him see it. Isaiah was last. He connected his laptop to the projector. I brought receipts, he said. Literally. Brandon's email to the Chicago Tribune filled the screen. Every word. The $5,000 asking price. The phrase, staged for public image. Then the Google searches. How to contest father's will. Cutting adopted children from inheritance. Foster care fraud, Illinois. Then LinkedIn messages to Marcus about estate planning. This man, Isaiah said, pointing at Brandon, tried to destroy Steve's reputation because he couldn't stand that we succeeded. Because he was angry, his father's adopted children turned out better than him. The bad boy wanted money he never earned from a father he abandoned. The room erupted in murmurs. Marcus took the mic again. Tonight, we're announcing 3 things. First, a $50,000 donation to the American Cancer Society in Steve's name. Applause. Second, a $100,000 scholarship fund for at-risk youth in Detroit and Chicago. The Steve Harvey Second Chance Fund. More applause. And third, he smiled. We bought Steve a condo, 2-bedroom in Lincoln Park, paid in full, because he spent 16 years making sure we had a home. Now we're making sure he has one too. The room erupted, standing ovation, cameras flashing. I couldn't speak, couldn't move, just stood there, these 3 incredible people beside me. Brandon pushed through the crowd toward the exit. He was crying, angry tears, the tears of a man who'd gambled everything on cruelty and lost. Someone in the crowd yelled, "That's the son? The biological one?" Someone else. $5,000. He sold out his own father for $5,000. A third voice. Those adopted kids are worth more than all the biology in the world. Brandon reached the door. Vanessa was already gone. He looked back once, caught my eye across the ballroom. I didn't look away, didn't nod, didn't acknowledge him, just stood there with my real family, the one I chose, the one that chose me back. He disappeared through the exit. The video went viral, overnight. Adopted children defend father from biological son's betrayal. 4.2 million views in 3 days. The comment section was merciless. Imagine being shown up by your dad's adopted kids. This man really tried to sell his father's story for $5,000. The way those 3 kids stepped up, that's what real family looks like. Brandon's company launched an HR investigation the next morning. Conduct unbecoming a director. By November, Brandon had been encouraged to resign. Vanessa filed for divorce 2 weeks later. Her real estate career had taken a hit when clients saw the videos. "I can't be married to that," she told him. He lost his country club membership, the $15,000 a year membership where he'd networked. They voted him out. Standards, they said. His kids transferred from private school to public. Not because of money, because the other parents wouldn't let it go. By December, Brandon had moved from his $450,000 house to a $1,400 a month apartment in Schaumburg. New job as a sales associate at a medical supply company. $52,000 a year. A 45% pay cut. Everything he'd built, gone. Because he forgot what matters. This Steve Harvey family feud had cost him everything, and he had no one to blame but himself. Brandon called me once during all of this. Late December, 11 p.m. I was in bed, reading. "Dad." "Brandon, his voice cracked. "I just wanted to say I'm sorry." I didn't respond right away. Let the words hang there. "You're sorry," I finally said. "Yes, I was wrong. About everything. The money, the kids, You ignored me when I had cancer. I know. You tried to destroy my reputation for $5,000. I know. You couldn't stand that I built a family after you left. He stopped. Started again. I was jealous. I saw those kids succeed and I thought you gave them everything you never gave me. Brandon, I gave you everything I had when you needed it. I worked overtime so you could go to college debt-free. I co-signed your first car. I showed up. Until you lost your job. There it was. The truth. You're right, I said. I lost my job. I became poor. Your mother left me because of it. And you chose her side because she had money and I didn't. Dad, I'm not angry anymore, Brandon. I understand. You were 28. You saw your father fail and you didn't want to be him. So you chose success over loyalty. That's human. Silence. But here's the thing. Marcus, Elena, Isaiah, they saw me fail every day. They saw me work 80-hour weeks for barely enough money to feed us. They saw me at my lowest, and they stayed. Because you saved them. No, because we saved each other. More silence. I could hear him breathing. Brandon, if you want to rebuild our relationship, I'm not going to stop you. But it's going to take time. Years, maybe. Because trust isn't a switch. You don't turn it back on with an apology. I understand. Do you? Because the first step is living with the consequences. The job loss, the divorce, the shame. That's your burden. You carry it. You learn from it. And maybe you become someone better. Okay, he whispered. I'll be here when you're ready. But Brandon? Yeah? Don't call again until you mean it. I hung up. It's April now, spring 2025. I'm 64 years old. The condo in Lincoln Park is nice. 2 bedrooms, updated kitchen, close to the lake. The kids insisted on furnishing it. Marcus picked out a couch that's probably too expensive. Elena bought art for the walls. Isaiah installed a new TV and taught me how to use streaming services. I still run the truck 3 days a week, 7 a.m. to 2 p.m., Wednesdays, Fridays, Saturdays. Not because I need the money. The kids set up a consultant fee for me at Marcus's company, $1,500 a month for supply chain advice that mostly consists of common sense things Marcus already knows. But I like the truck. I like the routine. I like showing up. Tuesdays and Thursdays, I volunteer at a homeless shelter in Uptown. Serve food. Talk to guys who remind me of who I was in 2010. Broken, ashamed, trying to figure out what comes next. Sunday dinners are at Marcus's place now. Big house in Evanston, backyard with a grill. Elena brings her boyfriend Tom, also a doctor. Isaiah brings his girlfriend Rachel. They're talking about getting married next spring. There are 2 grandkids. Marcus's daughter Sophie, 2 years old, and his son James, 6 months. Isaiah and Rachel are expecting their first next spring. Last Sunday, Sophie asked me a question while we were grilling. "Pops, how come Uncle Brandon never comes to dinner?" Uncle Brandon? She didn't even know him. "Because," I said, flipping a burger, "he's still figuring some things out." "Like what?" "Like what family means." "But you're his dad, so he's family." "You're right. But family is more than blood, Sophie. It's the people who show up, the people who stay, the people who choose you every day, not just on the good days." She thought about that. Nodded. "Like how you chose Daddy and Aunt Elena and Uncle Isaiah." Smart kid. "Yeah, exactly like that. And how they chose you back." "Exactly." She ran off to play. Marcus walked up beside me, beer in hand. "You good?" "Yeah, I'm good." And I was. I really was. Family isn't who shares your blood. It's who shows up when your blood tests come back positive.